Hello, thank you for joining me today again on the Church History Trail. We're continuing here in Bangor Abbey in County Down. And who I have with me is a gentleman called Peter McCabe. And Peter has his own YouTube channel, he's an author. And so he's going to tell us a wee bit of his work and when he started, what he's at the minute, and various things like that. Hello, Peter.
Hi, Mark.
How you doing? So tell us then, how did you get started in history and the YouTube channel and all of that?
Well, this is part of an ongoing midlife crisis. So that I've been wandering around graveyards for a number of years now. And I've produced a number of books about different local graveyards throughout Northern Ireland. So I stumbled across it just more by accident, but I kind of enjoy it. So I don't see these graveyards and cemeteries as graveyards and cemeteries. I see them more as outdoor museums. So you can actually find out a lot of information about those who went before us just by wandering around graveyards. I know I'm preaching to the converted with yourself, but so I find them very fascinating places.
So basically what you have in a graveyard, it's really like a history book.
It is, for sure, yes, but I have also produced my own history books to accompany the cemeteries.
So how many books have you produced then, Peter?
I've produced 6, Mark, about graveyards, and then I launched my 7th book yesterday, which is a bit of a departure for me because it's about someone who is still very much alive and well.
And what's that called?
It's about a guy called Stuart Barber, and he's a big cricket fan, and 70 stories about him. So it's called AAS Barber, which is a cricket term, 70 not out, so say 70, 70 stories about him. But my first book, a number of years ago now, maybe about 7 or 8 years ago, was about Belfast City Cemetery. Second book then was about Dundonald Cemetery, because I'm from Dundonald. Third book then, which came out in, it was supposed to come out in 2020 because it's called 2020. It actually came out in 2021. It's 20 different graves in each of 20 different local cemeteries. So we're up to Derry City Cemetery, for example, Carnmoney, etc. And a couple, Bangor Abbey here features in that book, 20 graves in Bangor Abbey. And then the 4th book was Roselawn. My granny and granddad are buried and granny and granddad Craig are buried in there. So they feature in the front cover. But also people like George Best, for example, and sadly a number of Troubles victims feature in that one. 5th book was then called 50 Footballers. So it's a bit more easy to explain. It was just 50 the graves of 50 footballers buried locally. Again, including George Best, but also including folks from throughout the 6 counties. So try to get it as less Belfast-centric as possible.
Yes.
And then the 6th book then, Mark, was about, it was about the Princess Victoria disaster of 31st of January 1953. It's called Where Terror Came by Sea. And it was launched in Larne on the 70th anniversary of the loss of the Princess Victoria. For folks who don't know, it was a cross-channel ferry coming from Larne to Stranraer during a very heavy storm, and there was 135 people died as a result of it. So say on the 70th anniversary of the loss of the Princess Victoria, I decided to write this book about it. It was launched on the anniversary down in Larne. It was tricky enough to get the final resting places of the 70 victims because a number of them their bodies were never recovered, and secondly, a lot of them, because it was coming from Scotland, particularly the crew, a lot of them were Scottish. So I managed to do it just about, and for example, the furthest it took me in Northern Ireland was Enniskillen. So there's a guy, David Gallanders, who's buried down in Enniskillen, who died as a result of the Princess Victoria.
And this might seem as a strange question, Peter, but which is your favourite grave that you've covered?
Favourite grave or favourite graveyard?
Favourite grave of a person?
I did hear you rightly, but I just was stalling for time there. Honestly, don't know. I couldn't really comment, or I couldn't really make a decision.
I suppose Geordie Best will have to be up there somewhere.
Well, George Best is an interesting one because I look after his childhood home, which is an Airbnb now.
Is that right?
So it's a special one. What I want to say about George Best's grave is that it's a family headstone. You know, he was predeceased by almost 30 years by his mother.
Yes.
So he's just listed as, you know, George Best, and then the date of his death. There's no mention of the European Cup win, the Ballon d'Or, the 7 missed worlds,
yes,
or whatever. It's not mentioned in his headstone. It's just a family grave, and then he was joined in that grave 3 years later by his dad, Dickie. So,
and then of course Pelé, when Pelé was interviewed, and he was asked who was the greatest, him or Geordie Best. Of course, he might have only been being modest. We don't know, but he did say George Best.
Yeah, George. Yeah, George. He and we're speaking, I suppose, the day after the sad passing of Bobby Charlton, another member of that Manchester United Holy Trinity as such. So yeah, Pelé called George the greatest footballer in the world, which George considered the ultimate salute to his life.
Yeah.
And that quote from Pelé is up at Burn Way, where George's childhood home is.
Very good. Now, Peter, you said you had a number of books there. If some of the viewers wanted to get their hands on those books, how would they go about it?
Well, my contact details marker on my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel then is called Peter McCABES Memorable Memorials. So, and I post one video a week usually. So a video goes up on at 12 noon every Sunday. So, for example, the post that went up today was about a lady called Dorothea Ross, and she's known locally as the Princess of Portrush. She's buried in Ballywillan Old Graveyard outside Portrush. So the details are on that, so you can certainly send me a message if you're interested in any of the books. So the books are usually £10, and then there's a couple of the books, like the 21 is 15, because it's a good bit thicker, and then you need to pay a bit of postage as well. But I think they're a good read. Obviously, I'm hugely biased, but they're also a good cure for insomnia.
I've actually covered that one myself, the Princess of Portrush. Amazing to think that there's a princess buried in that graveyard, and like nobody really even knows about it.
No, it's
crazy.
Yeah, so it's great that the work that you're doing, and myself to a lesser degree, are kind of telling people that these people are buried locally, and
it keeps the history alive, doesn't it?
It does, and it ensures that they're not forgotten, essentially.
That's it. Well, thanks very much, Peter, and all the best with your new book.
All the George best.
Yes, all the George best, and thanks very much for the interview, and God bless.
Thanks, Mark.
So there you go, folks. That's Peter McCabe. So why don't you check out the YouTube channel there, and you can also get your hands on the books if you want the books as well. So thanks for watching, and God bless.